TMZ Live, Charles here.
I'm Alex Michelson from Fox 11, filling in for Harvey. And you know the Beatles song, I Get By With Little Help from My Friends?
I do. I know it well.
Diddy sort of maybe getting by with a little help from his friends.
Maybe. One of his friends tried. His knight in denim armor, as it were. Kanye West showing up out at the federal courthouse in New York City. The first time we've seen any of Diddy's celebrity friends in court supporting him. It did not go exactly as Kanye planned, but here was his big entrance.
The box sit right here in the middle.
Kanye West.
No,
Kanye. Kanye. Happy to see you. Yeah. You the last one.
Still people celebrating him, which we always talk about as being kind of weird with the things he has espoused. But there he is walking in all in white, strolling into the courthouse. Bianca not with him. Interesting, because we do know she is in New York with him, but she did not go to the courthouse. And there you see King Combs greeting him outside to go into the courtroom. Now, his plan clearly is to go in and support Diddy. And we know that they're close. Just a few months ago, remember, Kanye dropped a song that featured clips of a prison conversation he'd had with Diddy.
And the idea being essentially that the jury would see him there in support.
And that somehow that would help, although we'll get into whether or not it helps or hurts. We saw the chaos outside of court as he went in, but what happened inside? Our producer, Jacob Wasserman, is actually in court. He's been in the overflow room. What did you see, Jacob? Was there any commotion inside the court? Were people aware that Kanye was coming?
The best way I can compare it is like a big game of hide and go seek. So I was outside when Kanye first came in, and he goes in, and it sounds like he came in with Christian Combs and Donaldson, one of Diddy's attorneys. I guess we caught that on video. I went inside shortly afterwards. Of course, I go up to the courtroom because I think that's where Kanye is going. I go up, everyone's, oh my gosh, where's Kanye? Where's Kanye? Apparently, he never even made it inside. He didn't reach the 26th floor. One of my colleagues who's inside said that basically they were siloed off this entire time, and Kanye wasn't much of a topic inside the courtroom. I usually go to the two floors below, which is the overflow room, which is essentially like watching the court case happen on a big TV screen, and everyone thought he was going to come in there. So we go down, and it's like bedlam. Everyone is coming in and out every 5 seconds. They're upping security. At one point, they cleared off a bench in the back and had security standing in front of it. And it sounded like that he was going to come in and sit on that bench and watch it with the rest of us. But one of our PAs, who's also inside the courtroom, went on with a bunch of other journalists to kind of see where is Kanye, because that's what everyone was thinking. Is he in the cafeteria? Is he coming up here? Did he already leave? And what we learned based off talking with several people is it sounds like he was given his own private room, basically his own overflow room, which he was in for about 8 to 10 minutes. And then I assume was like, hey, I didn't come here to be in this private room by myself. I wanted to show face for Diddy and, to the public. And then eventually he left right after. So it was only there for a short period of time. And I'm not sure if other people got access to the overflow room that he was in, but if they did, it wasn't many.
Right. So the jurors never saw him, and Diddy never saw him.
Right. So
no,
you would know.
No, yeah. So the jurors never saw him. The one thing I want to mention is, as I was saying, how I was in the overflow room and everyone's coming in and out, and it's this whole commotion. Nicole Westmoreland, one of Diddy's attorneys, came in and did a sweep. And she was looking, being like, oh, is Kanye here? And eventually left. But it was just kind of hilarious, all these characters that were coming in and out, almost like, again, a big game of hide and go seek. We were all looking for where Kanye was. He apparently was in this overflow room for only a few minutes and headed out.
Where's Kanye? Where's Kanye? Just a lot of commotion for not really much that ended up happening. Jacob, we're going to let you go. I know you got to get back into court. You're just on lunch break at this point. But, keep an eye out. You never know. Maybe Kanye's going to come back.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
I mean, is the idea...
I think they were even worried about the overflow room, because it sounds like they cleared off that bench.
Yeah.
And they were going to bring him in, but they're like, it's going to cause too much commotion in here.
Is the idea of having this anti-Semitic guy as your base helpful to the jury? Is that supposed to be a plus?
No, and you're right. I mean, look, I don't think if you were asking Diddy, which of your celebrity friends do you want to come to
This
court
is my
and
character
sit
witness?
behind you, it's probably not Kanye. But
That's my guy.
he
Team
didn't.
Diddy.
He didn't have to deal with that, as it turned out.
Hi, this is Devin from Los Angeles. I can't imagine that Kanye showing up for Diddy is doing what he thinks it's doing. Given his reputation recently, I can't imagine that Diddy would want him anywhere near his trial. But as someone who would love to see the downfall of Diddy, I'm all for it. Go for it, Kanye, by all means. Anything he touches really turns into a dumpster fire. So it's just evil attracting evil.
Except for his bank account, there are some fans, and he seems to make a lot of money in different ways.
That has not been impacted. It does not seem anyway. All right, so we know that Kanye didn't get to see much of the trial. He was only there briefly, but there is testimony going on, and today, one of Diddy's former assistants is on the stand and talking a lot about duties he had to do that certainly maybe not surprising at this point, but you got to feel for these people and what they went through. Cleaning up the hotel rooms after the freak-offs.
Well, you think about all that baby oil.
Yes, which,
and
by the way,
all that Astroglide.
there was
It's got to go somewhere.
There was a special agent on the stand who talked about the raids and all the stuff they found. We know, of course, about the hundreds of bottles of baby oil, but also talked about weapons, drugs, ammunition that was found, armor-piercing ammunition, which I always thought, I remember reading that in the indictment going like, why? Why do you have armor-piercing anyway? That was a special agent, but the assistant, who's, I believe, still on the stand, this guy, Jonathan Perez, boy, he needs, talk about hazard pay. This is someone who should have hazard pay.
Yeah, the former assistant, Jonathan Perez, he was Diddy's most recent assistant up until his arrest. And he testified to the fact that at some point, Diddy's videographer found a video on a staff iPad that was usually just accessed by members of his team of Diddy and in the background of a video of Jane having intercourse with one of these male escorts. And so Perez brought that to the attention of Diddy and Christina Karam, who is the former chief of staff. And Diddy was super surprised to see this video, obviously. And 6 months later, we saw a recording that was seized from Christina's phone, and the jury heard this recorded phone call of Christina basically grilling Jonathan about, who else saw this video and what is this about? We want to make sure that this is all controlled. Jonathan also mentioned someone accessing the iCloud at that time that they saw the video from somewhere else in Florida. So it was super interesting, the timing of all of that.
And what's the deal with honey?
Yeah, there was something about
Right.
honey he testified about, which I'd never heard of this.
A new ingredient just launched in these freak-offs, and that is honey. According to Jonathan, he would bring not only food and liquor to the hotel rooms to set up, he would also bring honey, which he testified and confirmed that it's a male libido enhancement.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did not know. Learning so many things.
That just
during
made
this trial.
my daily yogurt a little more interesting.
A lot of this testimony just seems like color. There's a little bit of freak shaming going on by giving all these details about, honey that was brought to these. But the key part of the testimony to me is that he says he had to clean up the hotel rooms very assiduously and get everything, nothing could be left behind. And I think that goes more towards the embarrassment it might cause, maybe his frame of mind, maybe some of the things that were left behind being incriminating in any type of way.
Or just that he didn't want
was a huge deal.
Or just that he clearly didn't want his lifestyle to be known to the public. And really, we wouldn't have known, certainly not in this detail, were he not arrested and standing trial here. In fact, Derek, what was the thing about Jonathan Perez cleaning up at one point and he was on the phone with someone? He said that he had slipped and fell a couple of times. Did he say it was because of baby oil or Astroglide?
So he said that he got a text from Christina while he was cleaning up, and she was asking how it was going. And he said, quote, slipped and fell twice, and had testified a few minutes earlier that the cleanup entailed a lot of towels and sheets and baby oil.
Yeah. And lots of fluids at that
hazard pay
party.
Hazard pay. Oof. I wish they should have had him testify to that. What were you getting paid, Mr. Perez?
Hi, Gloria, New Jersey. Boy, every day there's something new with this Diddy trial. And I see why they call it the freak off, because this is some of the most freaky stuff that I've ever heard of. And I'm just hoping for the victims' healing, and even the cleanup crew. I hope that they're not too traumatized after all of this. I can't imagine having to go in after someone and make this cleanup. This is outrageous. It's very wild stuff, just very, very freaky. Never heard of some of this stuff.
I think your reaction is the reaction that a lot of jurors are going to have. Now, whether that means that he's guilty, not necessarily, just means he's leading a life that most people would never, ever know anything about.
That was a great call. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We are going to take a break. When we come back, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce out and about again and taking in another game.
With a real legend.
Yes. Hanging with a legend that you wouldn't think Taylor would be comfortable around, but we'll show you who they were with when we come back and what they were doing.
If you had to think about who you would want to watch a hockey game with, is there anybody better to watch it with than the great one?
There's maybe one or two other people. Wayne Gretzky is nice, but if you could get Wayne Gretzky and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, well now you're living. This is hockey the way it's meant to be enjoyed. And that's what happened last night at Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals, which was being played down in South Florida. The Panthers were on their home ice, and they were there to take it in. Remember that Taylor and Travis are down there because they've been living in the Palm Beach area while he's training for doing his off-season training. But they decided, hey, there's a Stanley Cup game, and let's go check it out.
I mean, how cool is that?
It must be nice to just be able to go like,
yeah,
hey, you want to go to the Stanley Cup tonight? And just make a call. And you know you're
then be there with Wayne Gretzky explaining to you hockey.
Right.
Which is pretty freaking cool.
It's awesome. And you've got to imagine for the NHL, I mean, the NFL is such a force, and they have had a sizable and a noticeable increase in ratings for the NHL, which is far, I mean, no offense, but it's far less popular, obviously.
Far less popular.
No shade at hockey intended, but the reality is it's just not as popular. So to have Taylor Swift, to have Travis Kelce there, that's a huge get for the NHL. I am sure they are begging them to come back when this series returns back to Florida for Game 6.
Why wouldn't the NHL want some of that Taylor bounce that the NFL has been getting for the last, 2 seasons? So there were a lot of people who tuned in last night. And by the way, it was a great game. When it's overtime.
Instant classic.
And even Taylor was like reacting to the fact that because there was just 20 seconds left in regulation. And Taylor
Charles,
was
they were up. They were home team down 3-0. Then they stormed back in the second period. They scored 3 goals. They go up. It was a back and forth game. It was super exciting. If you're going to go to a hockey game, I think that was a really good one to go to. It was a lot of fun.
That may be the most exciting thing is overtime playoff hockey.
Yep.
Maybe the most exciting thing in all of sports.
Yes. And by the way, if they were rooting for Florida, because that's sort of their home away from home right now, you're sitting next to Wayne Gretzky, who was clearly rooting for Edmonton. So you can see maybe Wayne was a little concerned. Maybe that's when Edmonton was behind.
Adriana from New York. I love these two. I think they're such a power couple. I also kind of love that no matter what sports game Taylor's at, it kind of becomes about her and brings attention to whatever game she was playing, and it's amazing. And I know that pisses some sports fans off, but I think it's great. And I think it's just time to see these two get married. I think that if they got married, it would be the biggest news on the planet, and it would be America's royal wedding.
That's probably true. What's cool
said.
about Travis Kelce is almost every time you see him, he's always smiling.
Yeah.
He just seems like a fun person to be around. And you see that personality on his podcast.
Definitely.
Just a cool hang, which is how he got the biggest star in the world.
And they still hold hands when they go out, which is interesting. honeymoon phase, I guess they call it. All right, moving on now to Wendy Williams, who is not at a hockey game, but still out enjoying herself. And, you know, there was a long period where that wasn't happening at all. But last night she was out with friends, went out for dinner with friends, and of course, fans always recognize her when she walks in someplace, and she gets to have these interactions now. She is still at the assisted living facility.
Right.
But they clearly have loosened the reins as she has been.
But in order for her to go out, her guardian needs to give her permission to go still, right?
Still has to get permission.
So last night she got permission to go out and spend a night with her friends.
Yeah.
Yes. So she showed up to a French steakhouse near Midtown. It's called Le Marais, and she was there with a couple of friends, a fashionista, Toby Rubenstein, and then a media mogul, Alvina Alston. And she was hugging them. She seemed very happy. And like you guys kind of touched on, she had talked about how she felt the facility that she was living at was like a prison. And so it's great to see her out because we know that's what she loves to do. She loves to be around people, and she seems like she's enjoying herself.
Now, the battle that still remains, it's great that she has, you know, a little more freedom now. She wants out from this guardianship altogether, and we've told you that, you know, she's hired Joe Tacopina to help her in that effort. It is slow going at this point, and maybe the guardian feels like Wendy's going to back off because she's getting a little more freedom. I don't think so. From what we've heard from Wendy herself, from Joe Tacopina, she wants out of this guardianship. It's just clearly going to take a little more time to get it done.
Hi, I'm Nat from Minnesota. I just have to say I am so happy to see Wendy bust out of the joint for a little bit to join her friends for dinner. It's something so simple, but so many of us take for granted. So what has happened to Wendy and the way that she's being treated, it is all a very scary story, but I just think that she deserves to be with her friends and her family. She's not a criminal. She hasn't done anything wrong, so a night like this should be normal for her, but unfortunately she's still stuck in that facility. Like Charlie said, that she's comparing to a prison. So I hope that Wendy just knows that there are so many of us out here who adore her and love her and support her and her family as they continue the fight to free Wendy.
Yeah, and for folks that may not have seen the TMZ documentary that you all put together, which is really excellent, Saving Wendy, which you can watch on Tubi for free, it gives you a sense of just how bad it was. You see that picture there? So the sight of her out there is really great in contrast to what we see in that documentary.
Some progress, still more, Wendy would say, to be made. All right, we're going to take a break, and it is about to be a massive day of protest in America. As Donald Trump is having the military parade, celebrate Flag Day in the Army, there will be millions of people marching in what they're calling No King's Day. They plan it to be a peaceful protest, but with so many people, can they keep it peaceful? We're going to talk to the man who's organizing the No King's Day parades when we come back.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall. Yeah,
right. It's TMZ.
Well, tomorrow is a huge day for President Trump. Also a huge day for what is expected to be millions of Americans who are going to be marching in what's been billed the No King's Day parades that are going to be going on, actually not just in this country, but in overseas as well. And clearly a response, this was planned as a response to President Trump's military parade, which he says it is celebrating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. It also happens to be
Flag Day as well.
Flag Day, and maybe most importantly to him, maybe.
And his birthday, although a lot of this was planned before he was even president. But that's the. But a lot of folks on the left are saying, we don't like the concept of a military parade. We don't want a king, so we're doing this No King's Day parade. And we've got the organizer of it.
Indeed. Joining us right now is the founder of a group called Indivisible. Ezra Levin is the man who has put together this incredible, the amount of humanity that it's going to be marching tomorrow for all of these parades in all 50 states. So Ezra, congratulations on putting it all together, and thank you for joining us on TMZ Live.
Oh, well, look, it's great to be here. I want to be clear, though, this is not the Ezra Levin show. There are countless organizers all around the country. There are 150 organizational sponsors. This is kind of an incredible grassroots effort. There are thousands of people who have put together these, now there are a couple thousand events all across the globe, across more than 20 countries. It's going to be a boisterous, empowering, joyful, peaceful demonstration of people power. That's what we're going to see, and I'm really excited for it.
And you're based in Philly, which is sort of the flagship of this. Of course, that's where the Declaration of Independence was signed, which of course was saying we're free from kings. What's it going to look like? I know you're expecting some 60 to 80,000 people where you are.
Look, I expect it to look like a contrast. And what we didn't want to do was to give him a counter protest in the streets of DC that he could then use as an excuse to crack down on peaceful protests. We didn't want to give him the narrative device that we're in some way protesting the military. That's not what this is. This is the 250th anniversary of the forming of the Continental Army. This was an army that was formed to push back against a mad king. So I think we're going to see contrast. We're going to see a leader trying to project strength, but actually looking weak. And we're going to see the most quintessentially American thing you can think of. Normal, everyday Americans showing up in protection of their constitutional rights to freedom of speech.
Ezra, I heard you say right off the bat that when you were describing what the parades are going to be like, you used the word peaceful. And I'm wondering what your reaction was when you saw the president's response to what was happening in LA, which we obviously was not peaceful at times, but just his response, federalizing the National Guard, calling up Marines. Did it make you think how you approach Saturday any differently and what you tell the people who are going to be marching?
And how do you ensure that it's peaceful?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say I'm not surprised. This isn't a president who has really embraced peaceful organizing. This is a guy who instigated a violent riot at the Capitol on January 6th, and then given the opportunity, one of his first acts as president this year was to pardon the violent insurrectionists on January 6th. So am I surprised that Trump is now escalating, militarizing in LA? Unfortunately not. But I can't control what Donald Trump does. What I can do is try to work with Americans of all stripes, of all ideologies, from all geographies, and help them organize as effectively as possible. And what I would say is Donald Trump wants nothing more than chaos, because chaos gives him the ability to escalate further and to claim more power and to militarize further. I view what's happening in LA, what he is doing to LA, as a rehearsal. This is not just happening in LA. This is not just targeting immigrants. They are currently requesting $150 billion to increase the budget of ICE so they can do at American cities across the country what they're doing in LA now. The question is, do everyday Americans stand up in this moment and say, this is too far. You have crossed a line. We are pushing back. And the best way to do that, the only way that folks effectively have pushed back against this kind of autocratic breakthrough around the world, is peaceful, nonviolent organizing. That's what builds majority support for democracy. That's what stops the autocrat in their track.
So that's what you've told your organizers. That's basically the pep rally speech to encourage everyone to make sure it stays peaceful.
And that is so I gave you the pep rally speech. Let's get more practical. We have spent all of this week doing trainings with our volunteer organizers on the ground. Trainings if you want to be a volunteer marshal at an event. Trainings around public safety. Trainings around the basic practical advice to give to people around how to de-escalate. It is important that we wage nonviolence because that's what works. And we don't want people wandering into these situations totally unprepared. But I will say we've got to balance that with the basic reality that this is going to be a joyful, peaceful display. That's what we saw on Hands Off in April when we had 1,300 events. That was the single largest day of protest in years at that time. 1,300 events without a single incident reported of violence or property destruction. I'm not saying we shouldn't be worried that Trump or the MAGAs will come at some of these events. That might happen. What I am saying is we shouldn't let them cow us into submission. We shouldn't let them spread their fear. We should demonstrate courage, and we should exercise basic common sense when we show up, but we should make these community-friendly events and be the protesters that we want to see out in the world.
And let's hope that those anarchists and other people don't show up to your things and try to sneak in and distract from it, and then take away from that important message.
Well, Ezra, we wish you the best tomorrow. Quite an effort you have put forward here to have so many millions of people around the world joining in for the No Kings parades. We look forward to talking to you in the future. I'm sure you're going to be, you have a successful day tomorrow. There'll be more like this.
Good deal. I'll see y'all out in the streets, I hope.
All right. Thanks so much, Ezra. It's going to be...
it's a big test for the country.
A huge test for the country to have that mass of humanity, and can it all remain peaceful?
Let's hope so. As Gandhi and Dr. King and others have showed over the years, that is the most effective way to get things done.
Indeed. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, former NFL superstar Antonio Brown wanted for attempted murder. This was a wild incident last month, and police now want him in custody. We're going to be joined by the guy police say Antonio was firing at after this wild fight you're seeing here.
And what might be even more wild is the backstory.
Zool will be here to talk about his battle with Antonio Brown when we come back. Welcome back to TMZ Live. What a big shocker last night when police in Florida announced that Antonio Brown, the former Super Bowl champ, all-pro wide receiver in the NFL, is wanted for attempted murder. And this was an incident that went down last month. And we have video of all this.
Crazy video.
And I remember when they had said that he had been detained and released, and then we saw this video, which we're about to roll for you. And I think, how did they release him? Because you can see the crime play out here, the alleged crime. But it all started with, there was a streamers event going on, and Antonio is there, and he ends up getting into this fight with... it looks like several people, but one of the people, Zool Carnane, who is going to join us in a moment. But watch this as this fight breaks out. Antonio's in there, Zool is in there. You can see a bunch of other people jump in. Fists are flying. And then that's Antonio who backs up there. Now, he's wrestling with his security guard and then takes off running into this parking garage. And watch what happens from here and listen. Whoa. Yeah. So now, having seen, it sounds like what the police have other videos, surveillance videos in the area that help them piece this together. And that is why he is now wanted for attempted murder, because he fired directly at Zool.
Yeah, we've actually obtained a copy of the arrest warrant that was issued this week for Brown. And in it, it states why they let him go. As you mentioned, Charles, they detained him briefly, but they said they could not find a gun on his person. They said they patted him down during this incident. There was no gun. And the victim, Zool, had already left for the hospital, so there was no victim on the scene. So they let him go and they conducted this investigation. And you're right, Charles, in the arrest warrant, they said they looked at surveillance video that kind of had a bird's eye view, I suppose, of this whole incident. And it apparently shows Brown reaching for the guard's gun, taking the gun, and going after Zool and shooting at him twice. And that's why they've issued this arrest warrant.
Right, and as he's going into the parking garage, you can see the gun in his hand, and this still from the video we just rolled. So, and then he runs around the corner and you hear the gunshots, though it wasn't clear who he was shooting at. We now know, of course, according to police, that he was shooting at Zool Carnane, the man who he was involved in that scuffle with. And Zool is joining us right now. Welcome to TMZ Live, Zool. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. And firstly, my name is Zool Carnane, and I want to say I'm a proud American, and thank God that I was blessed to be here. But I'm here to make the Ummah great again, and I stand with my brothers in Gaza and Philistine and Sudan and all the oppressed lands around the world. So that was, and you can see from that video, the enemy stands against that, once it's a spiritual enemy or whatever, and this is why we're here, because there's attacks on my life and other people who are fighting for freedom and liberation for the oppressed.
So, Zool, explain to us, we saw the video of the fight with Antonio. What sparked that fight? Because it seems like that was the start of this whole thing. I mean, this was a streamers event.
Well, sir, that wasn't the start of the whole thing. The thing started many years ago. I know Antonio, and I helped him spiritually, physically. I helped him from being arrested in Dubai. He saw me, but there was already prior beef because he owes me money in the court of the law. So probably when he saw me, I reminded him of his financial failure. He's in debt to many debtors. You know, he's going through some type of severe bankruptcy. So if he saw me live in the flesh, I reminded him of that failure, and then that's when the attack happened. And of course, I defended myself against 3 or 4 or 5 people. You know, I was being jumped. So I had to fight. And it was a quick 15-second brawl. I'm from New Orleans. We do that all the time. A little tussle. And you know what I'm saying? And get up out of there. So, you know, he stole on me. We went to tussling, boom, boom, boom. Some other guy came with a bat and was hitting me from behind. Some other guy was throwing hats. You know what I'm saying? So I was wounded, playing whatever. So yeah, I got a little scar. I had to take 7 stitches right here.
Oh,
I had to take 7 stitches. Somebody came over the shoulder, blindsided me with a bat. A little small kid, I think Hispanic kid. I don't know. I think he might have been a streamer. I don't know who these people are. So, bam, from there, the fight was broken up. I stepped out, and then the footage of what you see. But what made him crash out in that manner, I don't know. But I just know there's spiritual enemies. And I can understand why somebody who stands in a certain position, why the enemy of demonic spirits or whatever, because clearly you can see in the eyes that he's possessed by some demonic spirit. Something overtook him.
So what does he owe you money for?
He stole a pendant in Dubai, and I have a judgment against him for I was doing jewelry at the time. I'm a jeweler. I'm a financial freedom fighter. So at that time, I was working in the jewelry industry. I came up with this multi pendant. It's a beautiful pendant. 80 grams of gold that you see him wearing, 24 carats of VVS diamonds, and it has a display. So you can play videos, pictures, multimedia in it. So say if you're trying to advertise something, or if I wanted to advertise this shirt, I would put a video and a shirt on the display, on this hat on the display, and it would be encrusted in jewelry. So it was very you know what I'm saying, it was new in the jewelry game. It was very so
innovative in the jewelry.
Innovative. He saw it, he wanted it, and we were trying to broker a deal, but then he's trying to it's a very complex
Clearly,
story.
it's a complicated story.
We're almost out of time. I just got it. So the police in the arrest warrant, they say that you had gone to the hospital. Were you actually hit by any of the shots that were fired?
Man, Allah is merciful. Allah is merciful. I could have been grazed here, but I don't know. I don't want to take against God's mercy upon me, spare me, because I believe the angels protected me. But I do have burns upon my neck, and all that. But it did not enter my body and come out my body. It was not. So I thank God for that. That's first and foremost. And I left because I'm like I said, I'm from the Indo. I don't know what's going on. You feel me? I ain't trying to whoop. But then the next day he posted a whole fabrication saying that he's going to work with the police. He got jumped. Somebody stole his chain. And I'm like, why would you bring in the police? If you got out, nobody was there to give a statement. Why would you bring in law enforcement? And it's confused. Somebody say he on that Diddy dust down there. And I know that kind of mess your mind up.
Yeah. All right.
That Pink Panther?
Well,
yeah, that's neither here nor there. I don't want to slander the young man. May God have mercy upon him and guide him. You know, I'm not one of the turn the cheek Libyans, but you know, he trying to pull a TK.
All right. Zul, our thanks to you, and our thanks to your photographer for his close-ups. And
got to see the scar there.
We look forward to the reality show down the road.
Yeah.
God bless.
I think we finally found a character bigger than Antonio Brown.
I think so. Somehow I could see how they would have come together in Dubai.
And then maybe it not going well.
And not going well. We are going to take a break. When we come back, just days after Scott and Kelly Wolf announced that they are divorcing, there is serious concern about Kelly. In fact, law enforcement showed up and took her into custody this morning. Why? We have some answers we will explain when we come back.
Remember Scott Wolf from Party of Five?
Yeah, big announcement from Scott this week, Scott and his wife Kelly, that they're divorcing, something he called the most difficult decision that they've had to make. And when they made the announcement, they said, look, we are we will be co-parenting, and it seemed like it was amicable. But things took a turn this morning. Kelly is at a resort in Utah. She says she's been there on vacation with her parents, and law enforcement showed up at the resort this morning and took her into custody. Now, she happened to be on her phone at the time and ended up posting this. I don't know if that was a mistake or intentional, but this is what happened. This is the video as deputies showed up at Kelly's resort and took her into custody.
Don't! Reasonable. Oh my God. This is not happening. Fine, I'll go. I'll go on my own. Please, I'll go on my own.
You got that arm? Yep.
Wow. Wow. This is shameful, gentlemen. Look at this. Look at this woman. This is shameful. You might want to turn this off. It's on. Would you like to turn it off? You want me to turn it off? Okay, fine. My phone was recording. I think this is shameful, and Scott Wolf has been abusing me, and now you're abusing me more.
We haven't talked to Scott Wolf.
Well, turn it off. Please hand me my phone to my right. Hand it to my hand right now. Thank you.
So you heard Kelly making an allegation there that we had not heard anything about, even when they announced the divorce, but we don't know that there's any evidence of that. We have reached out to Scott Wolf for his reaction to what is happening here. It doesn't seem like Scott is there at the resort with Kelly and her family, but certainly it sounded like someone had concern for Kelly's well-being.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got a little more clarification, Charles, from the sheriff's department on what exactly happened. So what they said is they got a call for a female who needed help. When they got there, they were told that she was saying some very concerning things to a family member, which she doubled down on when officers were there. So basically what they did was they detained her and took her to a local hospital for an evaluation. That's all they would say. They said this wasn't a domestic dispute call, and that's basically all we know for now.
Basically, they were concerned about her mental health, and it sounds like no word about like drugs or anything else like that.
No, but the crazy thing is that this post is still up on her Instagram, and she clearly has her phone because she's since posted on her story basically saying she was taken against her will, that she's completely fine, wants people to check on her kids, and essentially is calling this like the darkest thing that's ever happened in her life. So very bizarre.
All not good. Again, we want to stress that the allegations you heard her saying there, don't know that there's any basis for that.
And you feel for her kids, because that's just not good for them to be in the middle of this, whatever's going on.
Empress from Atlanta, Georgia, and I believe that Kelly posted this on Instagram to try to prove her innocence, and she's trying to prove that she's not having any psychotic break or depression, that this was a setup. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out.
Do you think that this video proves that, though? Does this make you feel better about her?
Well, not the video per se, but her follow-up on her story was just to prove that she's in her right mind. There's something else,
All right, well, we will see how this develops. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, flip or flop star Tarek El Moussa. We now know why he just beat the hell out of some guy in a casino, according to police. He's got his side of the story, and it all has to do with someone going after his dad.
So the other day, we told you this story about Tarek El Moussa, and that he had hit somebody with his knee in Vegas as a way to defend his dad, but we didn't really know the backstory of what exactly happened, but now we do.
Now we got the details from the police about what went down at the Palazzo Casino, that Tarek and his dad were sitting at a roulette table, and this guy walks by, bumps the chair that Tarek's dad is sitting in. No big deal, they thought, and then the guy came back, according to police, came back, put his hand on Tarek's dad, like patted him on the shoulder, and at that point, Tarek said, we're not doing that, and gets up. In the way the police describe it, they get into a standoff, like in a fighting stance, both men. And police said they looked at surveillance video and they saw all this. They're standing off, and the guy goes for Tarek's legs like a UFC fight.
Wow.
Tried to get to the ground game, and Tarek wasn't having it. So we put the knee to the guy, and
that took care of that?
Took care of that. And
the guy's ended up unconscious.
And the guy ends up unconscious. Police are called, and the guy tells him, look, he wants to press charges. Tarek was not arrested but was cited for battery, so he's going to have to probably go to court and deal with that.
So that's not self-defense for Tarek, even though the guy's going towards him?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's his defense. I mean, look, they did square off, so that seems like mutual combat.
Right.
And maybe that's how this all ends up going away, is that it's just two guys fighting. And
the thing about Vegas, though, is everything's on camera. So
right.
it's not about memory or this. It's like we'll be able to watch every single step of it and then make a decision one way or another.
Exactly.
I'm Coleman. I'm from LA. And like you said, everything is on camera in Vegas. So what happens in Vegas does not stay there. I just think Tarek should go back to flipping houses instead of flipping out on people instead and go their own peaceful ways.
Everyone tries to be peaceful when it starts out in Vegas, but depending on how late it is, things go south.
Yeah.
What else do you guys want to talk about?
My name's Sharice. I'm from Miami, Florida. And let's get into Taylor and Travis. They look so super cute coming out of the Oilers game. Taylor's always a breath of fresh air to watch. Oh my gosh. And Travis is America's eye candy. So, hey, we love to look at him. But am I the only one wondering, are we going to get a save the date announcement this summer? Because that's what I'm waiting for from them, honestly.
She wants to save the date, and I think you're not the only one wondering. I think literally every single comment on these posts is wondering that.
Where do they get married? Where do they get married?
Yeah. So you're in line with everybody else.
I think they're used to hearing that by now. One more.
I'm Helena from London here, and I want to be talking about Kanye visiting Diddy on trial. In my personal opinion, Diddy must accept defeat at some point soon because there is no escaping those accusations. As for Kanye, closed doors are never a great look when on trial, especially if it's one of your peers looking absolutely guilty as charged. My personal opinion, I think Kanye should go back to focusing on his music career.
Well, even the music career has been controversial with some of the music he is putting out and things he is saying.
More beats, less anti-Semitism.
You know what? That's you get a T-shirt.
Maybe that's what he should
That'd be a
go
good
for
T-shirt
compared to the other shirts that he was selling.
Right. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, you heard our Swiftie friend say that Taylor and Travis is America's arm candy. So I guess Donna Kelsey is America's mom. But is she a traitor? We're going to find out when we come back.
As media savvy as Travis and Jason Kelsey are, I think their mom, Donna, might be even more media savvy.
Donna keeps coming up, man. She's getting new gigs. She's gonna be on the next season, season 4 of the Peacock show Traitors. They dropped the trailer today. Is Donna the traitor?
The cards never lie. People, on the other hand, constantly. The new cast of the Traitors are Lisa Rinna, Donna Kelsey, Tiffany Mitchell, Stephen Coletti, Tara Lipinski, Johnny Weir.
Lipinski.
What the
Oh, you gotta have them
those two
together.
against each other.
I like that.
This seems kind of fun.
There. I'm telling you, Donna Kelsey is going to get all the attention in that house because they're all Taylor and Travis fans also.
Yeah, thanks, by the way, for having me this week.
Thank you.
America's national nightmare is about to end. Harvey Levin is coming back on TV.
I don't know that anybody would describe
the
it
nightmare
that
for
way.
everybody here can begin. No, just kidding. Thanks, Harvey, for having me
Thanks,
in here.
Ellis.
It's been a lot of fun, Charles.
Thanks. It's been great. We will see you guys. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.